Hey kids, it's Jurassic James and Jurassic Explains. We're looking at Mapusaurus. So I've had these two figures for a while, but this one came out in Jurassic World, so I know in Target, Amazon, Walmart, etc. you're seeing this guy, so I thought it's time to bring the species up front. This is a well-known yet under-known dinosaur. What I mean by that is, it is a big deal in the dinosaur community where it fits in, but many people don't know it very well. So here we are. So the same rules apply, oldest models, newest models. The first thing I want to point out with this guy is my first figure of it, which is a 2013 Collect A. So I think this is the actual icon used on my website for the specimen. So the idea is that Mapusaurus was discovered in, its name means earth lizard, discovered in South America, Argentina, lived about 93 to 89 million years ago, started at the beginning of the late Cretaceous period. And so one thing to point out is that people don't realize that the Cretaceous period is like 145 to 66 million years ago. There's 12 subdivisions, and then within those subdivisions we have different layers of rock. So, for example, where this guy lives, it's like way before T-Rex, it's way after Utahraptor. You know, there's a different, in time and space. So this figure overall hits all the main points. It is a member of a group called Dinosaurus. More on that later. The name of the group essentially means shark tooth lizards, basically, because their teeth are very laterally flat, very sharp and serrate like shark's teeth. But again, they're dinosaur teeth, not like V-shaped shark teeth. And so this guy hits all the main points. It's my first Mapusaurus. It's 3-fingered hands that are looking palm to palm. My concern is the hands, the fingers are all the same length. And so usually what we see in dinosaurs that we have the three like this. And again, it's not a opposable thumb, but it does kind of go in different directions. So it's holding like that, palm to palm. But it is palm to palm. The crest, the head here looks like essentially like other dinosaurs. One thing to point out about Mapusaurus compared to his cousin Giganotosaurus, it has a wider skull, a deeper skull too, which I'll go over that more in a little bit. The feet have the 3 toes looking forward, the dew claw in the middle, the on the side right there, so that's pretty good. So overall, it hits the main points. It's what you want, and so I was so excited to get it to show this figure. Years later, I find 2018, so 5 years later, I find another Collect A, so they've upgraded to this. Now, I personally am not a fan of the foot, like the little green soldier toy thing. But these thorabots are balancing, and you can give them more dynamic pose. This guy's, the mouth opens here, there's articulation there. You can see the general body plan right there. Now, one thing to point out with this guy, they were first discovered in 1990, I think 7 or 6, and it took about 4 years to excavate it. It was worked on by Paul Serena, who I met this year, awesome, and also the guy Rudolfo Correa, who's also known for Giganotosaurus fame. And so these, this is one of those top large predators. One thing to point out with this though is that Mapusaurus is actually a successor to Giganotosaurus, meaning that this guy, who I've done a video before already, lived 100 to 93 million years ago. They died out, and then these guys are there. So even though Giganotosaurus is the largest of this family, this guy is like the next in line in the family tree. So there's different branches. Now, that can imply that these evolved into those, but we don't want to say all that. All I'm saying is that one rock layer has Giganotosaurus, this rock layer above it has Mapusaurus, right? Same thing here. We have the 3 claws. Again, they different, slightly, they're still palm to palm. This crest structure here, we see these bumpy ridges on the skulls of these guys, so it implies some kind of extra growth or something there too. And finally, the 3 dew claws. So yeah, it's all the main points. Frankly, what's interesting, the overall figure is physically fine. What interests me more about this animal is how it's related to everyone else and its environment, so I'm going to go over that in more focus. But for the actual figure itself, the guy here, the one we're opening up today, we summon upon our official scissors of Jurassic James. There we go. If you're new to the channel, somehow, here's the thing. I have these scissors. I open things. I'm very fancy for a paleontologist. I was teaching at the Brussels Port Museum last week, and I was saying how some paleontologists will go to like the deserts and they're living in tents, or they're diving in dangerous areas, and like I go to like a mountain cabin and then dig from very, very, very prissy. I won't not do the hard digs. I just prefer the more comfortable digs. So there we go. So Jurassic World said let's do this too, and it just came right out. Oh, foot control. Okay, so that was surprisingly less painful. And if you don't know, if you're into the channel, there's usually little like pegs attached to the box to rip them out. It's a whole thing. It's really sad for me to watch me do this. So anyway, so here's your Mapusaurus figure. Now what I do like about this one is, of course, Jurassic Parkified. It's more elaborate. The skull is a bit wider. There's more of these like ridges right here. These things. We do see something like that. But now, oh, I didn't tell you, Mapusaurus. They found 7 in one pit. And the big deal with that is the general consensus is it was some kind of family unit or group. Now, I mentioned before the science of taphonomy. Taphonomy is between death and fossilization. So the example I give people usually if I'm teaching in the classroom, I'll say we're in a classroom, and we'll kind of up, so we all get buried right there. We're preserved. We are random people in a classroom together. Would a future paleontologist go, or anthropologist, because we're human, say archaeologists, say these people were a family? Well, they, hopefully they would say, well, they're in a classroom or institutional building. Probably not a dwelling. Another idea is called predator traps. So you often think of the La Brea tar pits, where you have some herbivore being caught in mud or something, and the predators from the feed on it, they get caught too. When they found Mapusaurus, there were 7 there. The smallest individual was like 18 feet, largest around 33, 35 feet. There were no other animals there. There were no other in the actual pit. There were no other. There was like a large sauropod they were feeding on, right? And so that's one idea to point out too. I personally lean towards maybe a woodland family unit, because in this part of South America, you have a lot of large herbivores. People say, "Oh, this guy, what did he hunt?" Yeah, we'll go into that now. So this guy is the predator that's most associated with Argentinosaurus. Now, these are my 2 largest Argentinosauruses. Now, if you don't know about Argentinosaurus, this is very sad. Now, one thing to point out is we have a Collect a 2012. So this is like my official icon on my website image of Argentinosaurus. I went to I think Marshall's. They have like these packs of 4 like kind of cheap design dinosaurs. I can't remember the name of the company, but this one no. I thought it did something, made a noise. There's a battery hole here. Anyway, so these are the only Argentinosaurus figures out there. There are no other larger figures. I find it interesting that the Brachiosaurus, who's more famous, I know, is longer known longer. They have large figures. So I hope wishing and hoping and praying that the Jurassic World Legacy line makes an Argentinosaurus figure, because this is, when you say what's the biggest dinosaur of all time, there are like 5 contenders. I often take, or most well-known one at least, is Argentinosaurus from, you'll never guess, Argentina. So the idea is that, I always point out these guys are like 4.5 or 5 foot almost tall vertebrae, the backbones. If you're a human, you have a 3-inch, you're an adult human, you have a 3-inch tall backbone. If you're a child, maybe 2 inches tall. And so these are huge animals. So Mapusaurus is often found in the same time and place as these guys. There is a documentary or animation on YouTube, I know at least, where you see Mapusaurus hunting, a group of them hunting a herd of Argentinosaurus. There is no direct evidence. We have not found Argentinosaurus bones with bite marks on them from Mapusaurus, but they're in the same environment. It's the largest predator in the environment. All the other predators are smaller. In fact, the next largest predator, and this is not the scale. This is actually weird, because this is Scorpio venator, who I did a video on before. It's the Abelosaurid, which we've done many videos on Abelosaurids. So they have their own little playlist now. And so this guy would be about like half the size of Mapusaurus. Frankly, this figure should be probably on the same scale as a Tyrannosaur or the Giganotosaurus. So it's a larger animal. On that note, the largest one being in the first pit being 33, 35 feet long. Other bones have been found suggesting a larger animal, so it's often estimated to be somewhere around 40 feet. So when you're looking at the largest predatory dinosaurs, Spinosaurus is the longest. Giganotosaurus is also pretty large. Tyrannosaurus also, he's in that upper top 5 size predators. So that's why I say it's really an interesting fossil, an interesting group. We have a lot of them, so that's really important as well. And so Scorpion of nature, if you see them, these wouldn't be the same size, think bigger. This is kind of like your hyena, here's your lion, a little bit bigger in the environment, right? And again, there are other Abelosaurids, there are other sauropods who are smaller. And there's other predators. There's one called Merex that was near size, but it is found in an older rock layer, sadly, so it's thought to be different, not from the same ecology. So for the figure itself, let's see, what does it do? Let's see. First of all, that's not a button, that's the DNA code. So there you go. So you can see this for the kids. The kids these days scan the DNA codes, and then they use them they put the thing online. There's these 2 rolling wheels here. So you do that, and is there no battery? Oh, that's a battery. So it's a quiet figure. Okay. I'm guessing if you push this down, there's a button right where the cloaca should be. If you don't know, the word cloaca means sewer in Latin, and that's essentially where humans have, for waste management, a hole in the front to pee out of and a hole in the back to poop out of. Dinosaurs have one hole in the back. So it appears to be an anus, but it's not. It's a cloaca. And so the cloaca should be there. It's not there. I wonder. Sometimes these figures, yep, there's a cloaca there. And there it is there. It's there. Yeah. So they make them in the scientific models, not the kid-friendly toy ones. As they go back down, put it back down to reset it. Now that is not based on any science at all. They do not shoot spikes to their back. In the Jurassic World line, there is a series of, like they'll put out waves of toys, and they all have a similar gimmick. This is just where we are right now. But the idea of the hands, I do like that the hands are somewhat facing each other. They're getting there. Anyway, the head is a little too wide though, but again, compared to other members of the family, it's a wider skull, a deeper skull. Now, on that note, let's see where it fits in on the family tree of Carnotaurus. I should make a playlist for these guys too now, actually. I have enough of them. First and foremost, note, Dinosaur is the one that everyone knows from Jurassic World and on. Here's my Jurassic World one, did a video on it. Hoo-ha, like that. Here is a more scientific model. This is the name written. It would be in the bottom of the feet. But it's not. Oh, there it is. 2017 Safari. So here's a more scientific version of Dinosaurs. I like the fact that the skull's a little narrow. That's really an important factor on them. When you see these guys, they're very tall and broad, but not very wide. And I'm going over why that's important in a minute. But anyway, so I'm trying to give you the Jurassic Park version and like the scientific grade version. And then same thing goes for Mapusaurus, who's sitting here. And then there's the Mapusaurus. We'll use this one because it's similar in shape and size. Then we have the namesake of the group called Carnotaurus. This guy is the one found in North Africa. So it is, again, these aren't to scale. These are to scale, but these are not. These should be a little bit bigger. Then here is collect a 2014 Carnotaurus. There it is right there, specially ordered. There we go. And so here is EO Carnotaurus. Again, I've done a video on this guy already. And here these are the beginning Late Cretaceous. So think 100 million years ago, 90 million years ago. This guy is like 100, I think 10, 125. So a little older. So it's EO, meaning dawn. So it's like it's one of the earliest Carnotaurus actually. Found in Africa. Here's Concavinator, who I've done a video on a long time ago. This is the one that from Spain. And here is a figure of it from, I believe, oh, no name. Oh, there it is. Weird angling. Just made in China. Oh, GeoWorld. GeoWorld's company for this guy. Known for this really weird hump right there. And then finally there is no Jurassic World version of this, Acrocanthosaurus. This guy here from North America, which I think is like my first video, so check that out, see how the channel has changed. Now, one thing to point, I mentioned this before, but in Jurassic World, it has this like little ridge here from high neural spines. If you reach the back of your back, you feel little bumps there. Those are your neural spines, so they're bigger. Giganosaurus didn't have that, as you see with the scientific example, but Concavator does, and I'm guessing they put that in the movie just to make it look, to differentiate it from the Tyrannosaurus, for people who weren't as attuned or acute to noticing these things. So anyway, these guys. So they are some of the largest dinosaurs, predatory dinosaurs of all time. My analogy to these guys, for you, is a genus called Panthera, and Panthera are the big cats. And so you've heard of cheetahs, you've heard of leopards, and you've heard of lions, Panthera leo, and tigers, Panthera tigris. So these guys are, I mean, think about these guys. You don't know probably anatomy. So the idea here is that if you look at the skeleton of a cheetah, lion, leopard, they're very, very similar. And the idea is that, of course, we look at these animals today, they're different colors, different parts of the world, different lifestyles, but skeletal-wise, they're very similar. These guys, skeletal-wise, for the most part, are very similar, hence they're being in the same group. In some analogies, I would say Giganosaurus is like the tiger. He's the longest, the biggest of the group. The Mapusaurus is like the lion. He's like next in line, in this line, right? Anyway, so these guys are often compared to at least these three. Giganosaurus, Mapusaurus, and Tyrannosaurus are often compared to T-Rex because T-Rex is the largest predatory dinosaur from North America. And so so they're all around the same size class. But what I want to point out to you really, really importantly is that if these guys here are Panthera, the Tyrannosaurs are like the bears. And so they are more muscular. So we can compare it to these guys. Yeah, they may be a little bit longer than T-Rex, maybe a little taller, but T-Rex is more bulky, more wide, more heavy. And there is a new paper suggesting a bigger Tyrannosaurus, which I'll touch on at some point. But the idea is that that's how much you got to frame this in your mind, that these guys are very slender, even though they're longer, because when you hear the word bigger than T-Rex, you imagine something just massive. But they're just like how a tiger may be longer than a bear. But the bear is clearly more muscular. The tiger, I mean, they're both formidable predators in their parts of the world, but they're different types of thing. Just like these are all theropods, these are all carnivora. And I always mention carnivore with a little c means you eat meat. You're a carnivore. Carnivora with a big C means you are a actual meat eating, like a mammal. So that includes wolves and dogs and seals who are closer to bears. On the cat side, Felix side, you have Panthera, obviously. You have mongooses, meerkats are also mongooses, hyenas. So it's a break in the group. Same thing with these large theropods. And so Mapusaurus fits there in the story. And the idea here is that when I first got these figures, I'm like, yay. But, this again, the Jurassic World one triggered the channel. But the importance of this, too, is that when you see Mapusaurus it lives with Argentinosaurus, there's no evidence as of right now that Giganotosaurus live with Argentinosaurus. There's another large sauropod named Andysaurus that's living with it. And so you hear about a lot of Titanosaurs from South America and all those large carnivores from South America. They're not all living at the same time and place. They're living in different layers of time. And so, and this is how people, how do you know so many dinosaurs? The idea is that you separate them by time and space. There's not that many, in some sense. Like in the idea that you let North America, you have this and this and this. In South America, you have this and this. But also at this time, I mentioned always the T-Rex is the Maastrichtian. Below that is a Campanian and so on. There's different time divisions too. So that is why it seems complex, but it really isn't. Because if you separate them by time and space, it makes sense. None of these dinosaurs, think correctly, none of these car dinosaurs saw each other. South America, different time. Africa, different time. Spain, North America. So that's how this works in general. I'm not sure if this is what you wanted to see or hear, but this is what I made. But okay, I'll say it this way. There's lots of information on these animals in different perspectives. I guess for the channel, I'm just saying, here's what I think is cool about it, and here's how it fits in. If you have questions, please comment below, and I'll see you next week. I think we're going to do Gastonia, that Ankylosaur. That's really cool. Anyway, see you guys later. Thank you.